Hi traders, welcome to Profiling to Profit, the week ahead in futures. It is Friday, October 28th, just after the market closed. Wow, despite a small number of news events this week, it was an interesting week. We had just good selling in all the indices. And I'll tell you, what's coming up next week in the economic calendar, as well as the presidential election here in the United States. All I can say, guys, is buckle up. The ride could get fun here. So let's dig in. We got a lot to cover, a lot of good opportunities coming up, and then I got a couple things I want to show you at the end here on the website. So let's get rolling. Economic news. Like I said last week, there really wasn't much going on. So we sold off pretty steadily throughout the week. Now this week we have actually it all hits in 1 week, should I say, the big ones. We have FOMC meeting begins here in the United States on Tuesday with the announcement on Wednesday. That is the interest rate decision. Now we are up against an election right now, which is next week. Excuse me, November 8th is the election, the voting, and then on top of that, we have the unemployment situation next week as well. So we have two big news announcements. So there's been a lot of talk about these interest rates. What are they going to do? Are they going to raise? Are they not going to raise? This one should be getting a lot of attention, no doubt about it, and it will be a market mover. Now the employment situation is happening on Friday, which will always, it will also be a market mover too. So just keep these on your radar screen and make sure you're not stepping in front of these things. Stepping in front of news amounts like this can drain your account pretty quickly, so be careful about that. Now overseas, we also have a lot of news going on. So you currency traders, or if you're trading in different countries, different products in different markets over there, be aware of these. Let's go to the very top here. Obviously, we have GDP and we have CPI out of the Eurozone, and that is on Monday, so that will have some effect over there. Here's the one I want to keep an eye on. I want to keep an eye on the Bank of Japan and their interest rate decision. This will be very interesting. Now, of course, Australia has their interest rate decision as well. So, gosh, it's the week for interest rate decisions. So there should be a lot of volatility coming into this marketplace. And after the way we ended the week, it looks like it's coming that direction. So look at that. Look at retail sales over in China as well. That is also on Tuesday. Of course, ISM here in the United States, I don't expect from that. Monetary, of course, our rate decision, again on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we go to Great Britain, and we have a lot of news coming out of there. Interest rate decision there as well. So we have 4 interest rate decisions next week, gang. You got to keep your eyes on this stuff. I don't care what anybody says. If you think you can ignore this stuff, you cannot. So watch that very closely. Of course, on Friday. Now remember, there will be statements afterwards. So Mario will be talking, Janet will be talking, Abe will probably be talking over in Japan. So keep an eye on that. And of course, the big daddy here in the United States would be the unemployment or non-farm payrolls here. Got to keep an eye on that. So let's move over the charts. Lots of stuff going on here. In the NASDAQ, we didn't have an area to get short this. However, I will say we talked about this going up and testing that upside. It did. It was interesting because the NASDAQ was quite bullish and it gapped up on earnings. We are in the middle of earnings season. It did gap up off of some earnings, and then what happened, we saw this test just about above the highs and made all-time new highs at 49.1175, and then proceeded to sell off the rest of the week. We tested this lower support line, dipped down below it, and closed right at it. I said today in the Slack room, if we could close down below that 4,800, the NASDAQ would be in big trouble. I still think it's in big trouble. We're right here at the POC. It's going to have to rally hard to get up here. We're going to need some help from some news announcements. At this point, we're going to take a look at the other indices. I want to show you something. At this point, the NASDAQ, the path of least resistance is going to be to the downside. This thing is struggling. Every time it makes a new high, it gets just sold off very, very hard. If you see here, we had this week where it went up and poked its head up and just got demolished. It poked its head up and got demolished on this one as well. So let's go over and take a look at the ES. The ES went into our trigger zone. It didn't go in long, well, it didn't go in deep enough for us to get an actual trigger. However, if you took it right against the zone, you were short. Congratulations, this is a good opportunity. We do see down here at the 2095 as an area as a first target. You could probably go up a little bit higher, 2104, and take some off from there, but we expect this to go down and test these lows. As long as the trigger zone still holds, this thing is valid to the downside. Now, I will show you something after we look at the TF. We did get short the TF, and they're still short the TF. The Russell, the small caps, man, they sold off. They opened up into our zone. They triggered us in, and it's been just down the whole week, and they've been leading everything down. We got some off here at the 1190 area. Now we're looking for that 1169 area to tighten stops or take the rest of it off. We'll decide when we get down there. We do have more gaps. We're obviously looking for this zone down here as a possible zone to buy, but that's a ways down there. If you are short right now, you know, either take some off the table and trail or tighten that stop up. If you are not short, I've got a new zone for you up here. That zone is that 1207 area right here up into that 1216 area. This is a great zone. Now, one thing, why are we thinking that this thing is starting to roll over? I want to quickly go over into these other charts. These are candle charts. We do use them from time to time, but I want you to look at something here. Here we have the NASDAQ, the ES, and the Russell all next to each other here on daily charts. And what we're going to look at is this. As the NASDAQ made new highs at 49.19 up here, where was, and these are daily candles, so we talk about go back 4 days here, and it makes a new high. And then what happens if we look at the ES 4 days ago? We're nowhere close. We are absolutely nowhere close to that new high. We were actually 40 points away on the ES, and then 4 days ago we were roughly 40 some points away on the Russell as well. We had a major divergence here, and a lot of this noise, or a lot of this movement to the upside in the NASDAQ was because of earnings. And as with earnings, you know, you will get bumps and stuff like that, but they can't sustain those highs. We need some help here. The indices typically move together. It's very rare that they're broken. Now, they may not run in lockstep, but for the most part, their direction is going to be the same. So when we saw this, we knew that the NASDAQ could be weak, and that was a sucker's bet up there. All these people are getting long up here thinking that all the FANG stocks were going to run it. It didn't happen, and it rolled over nicely all week. So we think that there's more downside to come in the indices. We got some nice zones. We hope you got some of that as well. If you did, be sure to protect those profits, book some in there, and we'll move on here. Okay, crude oil remains weak. We suspected crude would start to roll over a little bit, and it has. Some people we know are short the crude oil. You know, one thing I want to point out to you how the profile works that really worked well in crude here. We knew crude was going to roll over at some point. It was getting long in the tooth. We covered our long back a few weeks ago, and we were looking for an opportunity as a pullback. And here's what happened. We had 2 weeks ago, we had made a high at 52.20, but every time we made a new high, it sold off pretty heavy. And so when it actually sold off and made sort of this B pattern, which is a bearish pattern, and we had this nice volume node right here, which is also the POC. Look where price went and visited. It visited that POC to the tick. Okay, it went right back to the middle of this thing. This is like a magnet, okay? And if you wanted to get short, we did not, but we know people who have, and they're very successful, and this is a very nice trade to them. But if you were wanting to get short, here's where your risk would be, right against this 50.69, 50.60 area. You don't have to be perfect, but then of course a little stop above this volume area, and you're not risking much to have a very nice move down into our zone here. Very, very nice. It would have been probably it'd have been probably a 4-to-1 trade on this, which is very nice. So now we are moving closer to our zone, which we've been identifying for a while. We almost got to it this week, didn't quite get to it. We expect to get into this. We'll look for a trigger, and when we do see a trigger and we are able to get long, we will look for some upside here. Let's go look at this. I had a target up here. Move this over to the daily area. So we have two areas I'm interested in to the upside if we're able to get long and this thing continues to the upside. I like this bottom of this gap area at the 54.70 area. That is a very attractive area. And then of course the gap close up here at 56.80. Now again, I think I talked about this last week. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Probably won't even happen in a week. However, if we're able to get long and hang on to this, and this does roll to the upside, those are two very nice targets up there. We think they do have a chance, and it is sort of a magnet up in that area. All right, so we like what we see there. Let's move on. Let's go see Goldie. Goldie's not doing much except going sideways right now. She's sort of rolling sideways to the upside. Then nice little rally into the late day. Nothing to really write home about. There's really no volume to the upside. We don't see any buyers moving in here. The zone is still valid here if you're not short. We are short still. We're waiting them to go down and test these lows at 1242. We expect that to get tested and taken out. When? This following week could be the week on that. It could be because we have FOMC and we also have unemployment, and that typically will move gold one direction or the other. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. And just remember, guys, just because we hold them now, as we get closer, if we see something or feel something that doesn't look right, we may cover the position before the news events. We just don't want to waste profit. This was very nice move in here. We did take some off. We just don't want it to swing back up and take us all the way out. It had been a wasted trade at that time. All right, the euro. Euro had a nice bounce this week. Still looking at our trade zone right now. That 1102.48 area to 1104.99 area. This is still valid in here. It had a very nice rally into the late day. And I got to tell you, I think we hit this area and are able to roll over. We'll look to reestablish some position in here, and then look to test this this low down here, which is, I say low, it's more of a support area from way back. And again, let's go back and look at this. This is a good lesson today, guys. This thing's been going sideways for quite some time, and we had to wait a long time for this to get any type of trade. We had to wait for this mess in here. Let's roll in, get in a little closer here. Whoops. We had to wait for this mess right here to break, and it finally broke. We were able to get short in there. We're looking for a test down here at the lows of this support area, which comes in at this nice volume node. That's a nice target right there. We think it has an opportunity. We think this is a zone that's going to hold it down. We want it to hold it down. If it doesn't, then this thing could roll back up into this mess up here, or at least test the lower end of that break, which is almost in line with this into the lower value area. But right now, short is, or the downside is the path of least resistance. And if you are short, congrats, good trade, just manage it well. All right, the notes. The notes have been rolling out of bed. We've talked about this now for I don't know how many weeks since we had that great trade in here. We missed this trade, which we wish we had because we'd still be in this. But we had a little H pattern, a little dead cat bounce. It rolled over. We said last week, you know, this was just the path of least resistance is to the downside. There's no buyers in sight, and there still is no buyers in sight. We are watching our zone right here. We love our zone. It's been here for, gosh, I don't know how many weeks we've had that zone there, but we're looking for this zone to trigger us long. Watch out for it this week. Again, we suspect it to hit. Now, I'm going to say this. Not too often will we take new positions before news events. If this were to open gap down into Monday and trigger us long, we would get long. But we most likely, unless we get a lot of profit into this thing quickly, we would probably cover the position before the Wednesday announcement and then wait until after the Friday announcement to maybe establish new positions. It's just too risky. This thing could blow through that zone or trigger us in and then just roll over and wipe us out quickly. It's just not worth it. Listen, I know there's a lot of mavericks out there that'll tell you need to trade everything under the sun. The truth is you need to trade your style and you need to trade your plan. Until you've been wiped out by news a couple times, it isn't worth it sometimes. However, if you have profit built into it like we do on the gold trade, then it may be worth holding it. Just tighten the stops a little bit, know where your pain points are and where you need to get out. And if you do get the opportunity to take a bigger profit, where to take that profit as well. So just watch the notes. There's a good opportunity rolling there. And with the bonds, now the bonds rolled out pretty nicely, rolled out real hard. I'm telling you, I got no. If you got short in here off that zone that we set up, oh my gosh, you had a phenomenal trade. We did not. This didn't get us in. It didn't trigger us. We like the price to move into the zone a little bit and then trigger us out of it. But man, if you were taking these on the edge of the zone, what a great trade. This can make a month. This can make a quarter. I don't say it can make a year, but it could definitely make a quarter for you. Now, of course, we came down just like we did up here. Our zones are pretty solid in the bonds. We one ticked it up here, and we came down to the tick twice. I expect this to come down and retest this zone. We will watch for a trigger long. And there may be some good opportunity here as well. Again, same rules apply as the notes. If we can't trigger this thing on Monday, we may have to sit aside and wait for the FOMC announcement on Wednesday, and then also for the non-farm payroll on Friday. All right, corn. This was another beautiful trade this week and provided a lot of great opportunity. We saw corn. We've been talking about this level at 345 for, geez, man alive, I don't know how many weeks this is. That's a lot of weeks. So finally we moved back above it. We held above it, consolidated and balanced, whatever the words you would like to use. And this was an opportunity to definitely get long. They shook out the week longs here real quick and then reestablished and have gotten long again. This got us long in here. We covered a good portion of it. We were expecting this to break out and go up and test that 363. We were looking for the 360 area to really blow out, and I mean really just get a nice run. We still like this 363 area. You can reestablish down into the zone. Anything below 345 is out. The zone is gone, and then this thing is going to start chopping around. We think it does have some upside. We're looking to reestablish for a target at 363. The soybeans are the same way. Soybeans really rocketed hard this week. It was very nice. It established a new zone for us. Again, we wanted that zone down below this consolidation. We thought they would poke back down, but corn had a nice run and it sort of drug soybeans with it. And now we have this nice zone on soybeans from 996 down to 988 area here. We want that to hold anything below 988, and this thing's probably going to roll down to 976. So if we can stay above that, trigger us long, we will look for a longer term target up at 1055. Now that's a pretty good size target up there, but we think this has some legs to it and could get us back up into that 1055 area, so watch that. A lot of things going on, guys, this week. It is turned out to be the end of the week turned out to be very, very nice. We covered some positions this week and booked some profits and looked into next week, and wow, we just got a lot of great things going on. One thing I do want to show you, come on over to the website. This week we had a webinar. It's called the One Daily Trade Every Profile Trader Should Have, and I got to tell you what, Josh knocked this out of the park. This is not a very long webinar, but I'm telling you what, if you're looking for, and you're what we call a style surfer or a trade setup surfer. What I mean by that is you're looking for the perfect setup and you're not going to want to lose money. Well, first I got to say you're probably in the wrong industry, because you will lose some money in trades. You just have to manage that. As you see, we use zones to do that. However, if you're looking for some numbers on your side, some high probability stuff, Josh lays it out here on this one daily trade idea. I can't tell you how much free information is on the Market Profile Trading Academy website. Get on over there, especially watch this webinar. I guarantee you, even if you've been around for a while, this one will open your eyes. It always does. It's a great trade setup, and it is consistent, and it has been consistent for many, many, many years. And I'm talking about 30, 40, 50 years back. and you'll see why it is. So guys, take a look at that. Other than that, keep an eye on your economic news this week. Have great trading, and as always, if you have questions, do not hesitate to ping us over at the website here. Hit contact us. You can either call us or drop us a note in here. We'll be glad to answer any questions and talk with you personally. Other than that, guys, have a great trading week. Good trading. Take care.